Rebel forces claim they shot down a Syrian fighter jet today in Syria's northwest Idlib province. This report comes on the heels of several other rebel claims of destroying Syrian army helicopters. Despite the army's advantages over the rebels through use of heavy weaponry, aviation, and armor, the rebels are attempting to mitigate these strengths by launching increasingly successful attacks against regime airfields. Although neither side has emerged the clear winner in the battle for Syria, the rebels are attempting to maintain the initiative by developing counters to the regime's heavy weapons. The past week, rebel forces began to intensify attacks on Syrian military airports in the conflict-ridden northern Syria. The Taftanaz military airport in Idlib province has been subject to attacks from opposition fighters since early April. Just yesterday, the rebels claimed to have destroyed 10 regime helicopters parked at the tarmac of a regional military airport, in addition to fighting at a separate military airport and camp in Idlib province. Attacking military bases and their aircrafts are not the only attacks rebels have been staging to weaken Syria's use of air power. Rebels have also demonstrated their increasing capabilities of destroying fixed and rotary wing aircraft in flight, not an easy task. Rebels downed a MiG fighter jet August 13th in the eastern city of el-Zour, followed by an attack that brought down an army helicopter mid-flight in Damascus August 27th. Most recently, rebels reported to have shot down another MiG using heavy machine guns today, shortly after it took off from a military airport in Idlib. Early on in the conflict, the regime's use of air power and armor against opposition fighters was sparse, if not absent. However, by the end of 2012, the regime's forces began to rely upon armor to attack rebel-held districts. The rebel fighters quickly adapted by using some anti-armor weapons and improvised explosive devices to disable and destroy the armor. The Syrian forces then began to use air power to strike rebel-held areas and positions, a tactic which intensified after the July 18th bombing of the National Security Headquarters. It was after this bombing that the regime's military strategy shifted to heavily relying on the country's extensive intelligence network and air force to eliminate rebel forces. The regime's use of air power poses a significant tactical advantage over the rebels, who have no significant supply of surface-to-air missiles, which would significantly degrade such air power. The rebels are at a clear disadvantage in armaments compared to the regime in terms of equipment and lack the necessary weaponry and ammunition to effectively counter the regime's heavy weaponry. Because of this disadvantage, the rebels have begun to increasingly rely on heavy machine guns and anti-aircraft artillery to provide some protections against regime airstrikes while mounting attacks on regime airbases. Defending themselves against regime airstrikes with their limited equipment is a tough task. Penetrating well-defended airbases also involves a difficult and risky operation. Without significant air defense equipment, the rebels have no other choice. If we begin to see the rebels demonstrate the ability to breach and attack aircraft at military airports in heavily fortified cities like Damascus, it will indicate the degree and rate at which the Air Force intelligence and security apparatus are weakening, both essential components to the al-Assad regime's hold on Syria.